Yo, Sir Luke, Sir Early in the building. Yo, we ready to take a look at this code red for humanity. It's the world coming to the end, like the United Nations trying to say. So I'm gonna share with y'all some things. It's gonna be intriguing. So y'all just sit back and y'all rock with me.
Humanity. Tonight, we begin with the wake-up call from the United Nations on what they call the unequivocal impact humans are having on our planet. Their once-in-a-decade climate report is out today, and with it comes a warning about what could happen if humans do not aggressively change. It's the world's most expansive report yet into climate change, and there's no sugarcoating it. The UN report says at this point, we are not able to stop global warming for at least 30 years. Essentially, a hotter future is already locked in, a future where extreme weather events like devastating fires, historic flooding, and extreme heat are all more common. The report's authors are essentially sending the world's leaders a final wake-up call: curb emissions and dramatically reduce consumption, or face a world that is fundamentally different. Around the world, fire crews are battling fires tonight on a nearly unprecedented scale. If seeing is believing, many are getting a firsthand look at a worst-case scenario for the future. But the report concludes there is still time to change. Our Maggie Rulli reports from Greece.
Code Red for Humanity, a dire warning tonight from the United Nations about our planet's future. Seems more reminiscent of horror movies now playing out right before our eyes.
Very problem. My island is on fire.
This is Greece in 2021. Turkey, California, China, Germany. A brand new once-in-a-decade report from the UN is incredibly clear. We are altering our planet. The report detailing how climate change is making extreme weather worse in every region of the globe. Hotter heat waves, heavier rain, more extreme droughts, raging infernos.
You can hear the crackle of these flames. The fires are just ripping through the underbrush here. Look at that. We see it climbing up that tree. It is going all the way up the hillside. We have seen dozens of these hot spots popping up along the road. This is what firefighters are struggling to keep up with.
Here in Greece, the fire is turning the sky a bloodshot, ominous red, forcing residents out of the Greek island of Evia, making conditions all the more difficult for the crews desperately trying to help them to safety.
My heart cries. I leave my family behind.
The Greek wildfires have been raging for more than a week. Neighboring Turkey finally got most of their fires under control after nearly 2 weeks, killing at least 8. And it's all across our globe. Extreme weather of seemingly biblical proportions, now a painful new normal.
Firefighters had been working in this area just a few days ago, but they've already moved on to other areas now. You can see, obviously, the fire is starting again here.
There are at least 93 active wildfires burning in Siberia, over 2.8 million acres destroyed, some villages in the region evacuated. In America's West, record heat, drought, and strong winds feeding blazes like the Dixie Fire up in Northern California, now the largest singular fire in the state's history.
It's a leveled ghost town out here. The surrounding areas still threatened. The air difficult to breathe because of the multiple hazards. Officials say could be weeks before families are allowed to return.
The 8 largest fires in California have all occurred in the past 4 years. Unprecedented 116-degree heat in the Pacific Northwest and all-time record highs in Canada, causing hundreds of deaths earlier this summer. And if it's not record heat and fires, it's flooding. Yet again, Venice's iconic St. Mark's Square covered in water far earlier in the year than normal. These horrifying scenes from China, commuters trapped in chest-deep water in train cars, streets transformed into rivers after record rainfall in the center of the country.
How high was the water up to here?
I was in Germany just 3 weeks ago, the site of devastating floods after a once-in-1,000-year rainstorm killed at least 160 people.
There's so many people dead. You don't expect people to die in a flood in Germany.
Buildings in this medieval town, around since before the 15th century, were once thought to be able to stand the test of time, now potentially destroyed by one flood.
From floods that wipe out entire towns to fires that leave forests and homes burned, covered in ash, still smoldering. These extreme, once-in-a-lifetime, unprecedented events are now becoming common, and scientists all point to one thing: climate change.
It is indisputable that human activities are causing climate change and making extreme weather events more frequent and severe. Second, it shows that climate change is affecting every region on our planet.
The UN's report confirming in the strongest language ever that the world is warming at a rate unprecedented in the last 2,000 years. And the report says we, humans, are to blame. Our actions have us at the breaking point, even if we meet the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius.
The number 1.5 degrees Celsius, there was this, ideally from the Paris Agreement, we would try to keep warming below that level. That looks like a pretty big challenge at this point.
Some impacts of climate change are now irreversible. Our behavior has altered our oceans, changed our planet's glaciers. In Greenland, the amount of ice that melted in the space of one day in July could cover the entire state of Florida in 2 inches of water. And no matter what we do, the ice melt is going to continue and get worse.
Changes in ice sheets, deep ocean temperature, and acidification will continue for centuries to thousands of years, meaning that they are irreversible in our lifetime and will continue for generations to come.
The report concluding sea level rise may be one of the single biggest problems for the rest of the 21st century.
Even if you suddenly stop the increase in warming, you're going to still see melting for decades to come.
What's different about this report? Well, just how confident scientists are about the conclusions.
So this report was produced by over 200 scientists from 65 countries. They worked for 3 years together to assess huge amounts of scientific information, over 14,000 studies and research papers.
Data from the past 8 years has the scientific community more confident than ever before that humans are the cause of what's happening to our planet. But it doesn't have to be this way. While more warming is expected in the coming decades, it's not too late to change trends if humanity changes behaviors now.
We can't undo the mistakes of the past. This generation can make the systemic changes that will stop the planet warming, help everyone adapt to the new conditions, and create a world of peace, prosperity, and equity. Climate change is here now, but we are also here now. And if we don't act, who will?
A call to action tonight from the United Nations. Maggie Rulli joins us now from Greece. And Maggie, as we saw in your piece, you've been in 2 disaster zones just in the past few weeks, there in Greece and, of course, the flooding in Germany. These extreme weather events taking such an emotional toll on these communities. How are people that you're talking to responding to it all?
Yeah, Lindsay, emotional is the perfect word to describe it. No matter where we are, we always hear the same thing. People tell us they're exhausted, they're angry, and they're scared. Here in Greece, people are tired. They're exhausted. The fires here on this island alone have been going on for more than 7 days. We're talking about these extreme, once-in-a-lifetime events that, Lindsay, now seem to be happening at least once a summer, and they're lasting for longer than ever. I mean, you talk about just the toll that takes on someone, because all of this is so personal. We heard from that one young man who said, my island is on fire. These fires are burning through people's homes. These ferries and bus and boats behind me, they are all on standby, waiting if someone needs to be evacuated from their home tonight. That takes a toll. We were in Germany. I'll never forget standing in front of this makeshift garbage pile. It was the size of a football field, 2 stories high, and it was filled with people's ruined belongings, everything that they cherish. This is personal, and people just get exhausted of it. And then soon they become angry. So many people always tell us they're angry their governments haven't done more. They should have known this was coming. We've been talking about climate change. We get natural disasters. Why weren't they prepared? And they're demanding that governments step in and do more, because this is going to keep happening. And that's why people are scared. They're scared for the future. We just saw that UN climate report saying these types of natural disasters are happening, and they're going to happen more often. That medieval town in Germany with houses that have been around before the 15th century. One man told us he can't believe his house, it might be ruined. How is he ever going to come back? Are those people going to rebuild if there's going to get more floods? People here in Greece, with Athens experiencing temperatures 113 degrees. I mean, how long is that livable for? Are people going to be able to live in these cities and these countries any longer? Lindsay, I think we all know this was coming, but many people thought it was going to be centuries or at least decades in the future. But for places like Germany, for places like Greece, for places in America, all of this is happening right now, Lindsay.
Right. The urgency, I think, has been lost on so many of us. But of course, the fear and frustration, understandable. Maggie, thank you so much.
Yo, salute to you, Polo. Salute to you, Vito, for y'all stopping through and stuff. Hey, this is real content. That motherfuckers can be on that troll channel or whatever the case may be. I ain't throwing no salt to nobody way or nothing, but I'm dropping real content. As y'all know, I ain't with none of the antics or trolling or the bullshit. You get what I'm saying? So this is content I'm bringing to you all. Yesterday, I brought y'all content about the historic scenery and the historic place where I stay at, where I reside. Now today I'm bringing you all what's code red for humanity. They're trying to say the world's coming to the end. You get what I'm saying? United Nations. So I'm just bringing you all content. Salute, Tommy D. Salute. This right here, I got about 3 more videos and shit. Then I'm gonna go fuck with my boy Popcorn and let's talk about it. So I'm gonna share these two to 3 more videos with y'all. This is content, just showing y'all shit that y'all might not know about. So y'all rock with me. Salute to whoever tuned in and rock with me though.
planet during the winter time, but in summer, temperatures can be rather moderate. But our changing world has made their summers increasingly hotter, and now officials in the region are battling an unprecedented crisis that has implications for all of us. ABC's Patrick Reevell traveled to Siberia to see the fight against the wildfires firsthand.
What can be one of the coldest places on Earth is on fire. Gigantic infernos burning across Siberia on an unprecedented scale, a climate catastrophe. The wildfires burning in Russia now are bigger than all the fires raging across the globe combined, bigger than those in the US, Canada, Turkey and Greece put together. This the view as passengers fly into Yakutia, a region 3,000 miles from Moscow. But in Siberia, before you can fight wildfires, first you have to get to them.
So we're driving out now, hopefully to try and reach one of the fire teams that are working near the village. We've got to drive over this dirt road. See, it's not really a road.
We are in the Taiga, and it's not easy going.
So the bumper has just been torn off the car on this track. The car that went before us got completely stuck. So hopefully that isn't going to happen to us. Traveling in Siberia, you know.
Swarms of insects mean we need these protective suits.
Made it through that one. It's about 6 kilometers more to go.
We have come to Yakutia because it's one of the front lines of climate change. Much of the region is in the Arctic, and in winter it's one of the coldest inhabited places on Earth. But summers are warm, and this year is seeing an extreme heat wave and historic drought. One of the hottest, driest summers on record. 10 times more fires are burning than usual. Smoke from them has reached Alaska, and for the first time in history, the North Pole.
So this is where we were trying to get to, a camp where the guys are basically going out and trying to fight the fires. Say they don't have enough equipment, they have a tractor over there that's broken down because it doesn't have enough oil.
This group from Russia's Forestry Fire Service, known as Aviales Akhrana, have been here for nearly a month. It is a vastly unequal fight. They say they are short of men and equipment.
Это самая главная техника в авиалесоохране.
Afanasi is one of hundreds of local residents who volunteered to fight the fires because of the shortage of manpower.
He's saying if the wind gets up, that will already start to spread all over the trees here. Within 10-15 minutes, it could be everywhere, really.
Я не припоминаю, вот 40 лет живу, не припоминаю, чтобы такой был пожар большой.
The team's main tools are digging trenches and controlled burns like this.
Так бы ловим. Загоняем обратно кракена в клетку.
But there is only so much they can do.
То есть вон, солнца не видно.
Да.
Много очень. Не успеваем, народу немного, а площади большие.
When the wind gets up, the fire spreads rapidly. Here, another group forced to retreat. And this is what happens when the fires get past the teams. The flames engulfing this village. Over 30 buildings destroyed. Only burnt-out cars and smouldering rubble left. The record drought fueling the fires has been linked by scientists to climate change. And the change in Yakutia's climate is already visible. Parts of Siberia are warming twice as fast as the rest of the world.
The smog's really bad this morning. You can really feel it in your eyes and in your throat.
People have spent nearly a month struggling in the dirty air.
Уже утро, днем не выходим. Утром только, днем как сказать, в доме сидим вообще. Дышать трудно. Много дождей было раньше.
И сейчас?
А сейчас вообще дождей нету. В этом году вообще нету.
All this smoke is a problem far beyond Russia. The fires are releasing record quantities of carbon dioxide. This year, already more than Britain's entire annual CO2 emissions, based on an estimate by a European Union agency.
You really feel the scale of the fire here. This whole area burned only about 3 weeks ago. You see, just as far as you can look, it's all blackened and burned.
With increased temperatures now believed to be inevitable, Yakutia's massive fires are likely to only get worse. Scientists say another sign of how fast and how drastically the planet's climate is changing. Patrick Reevell, ABC News, Yakutia, Russia.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for
And Afghanistan's second largest city of Kandahar fell overnight as the Taliban closes in on the capital of Kabul. Now the Biden administration is sending more troops in to get Americans out, just 2.5 weeks before the scheduled withdrawal of all U.S. troops. Senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell has the latest.
This morning, Afghanistan reeling as around 3,000 U.S. troops set to deploy back into Afghanistan to help an emergency evacuation of some embassy staff and others out of Kabul, as the Taliban's grip around the country tightens. With up to 3,500 troops to be stationed in Kuwait on standby, officials refusing to call the deployment a combat mission or an evacuation.
Our job here now with this additional plus up is to help facilitate the safe movement of civilian personnel out of Afghanistan.
This as the Taliban take key southern strongholds overnight. The country's second largest city of Kandahar fell after heavy fighting, the government releasing video of some of the clashes. And the key southern city of Lashkargah was toppled this morning. In just 1 week, they've taken at least 15 provincial capitals, including most of its major cities. This video, released by the Taliban, purport to show their forces taking key strategic sites. One shows fighters at police headquarters in Herat, the country's third largest city. The group also overtaking Ghazni, a key location on the road to Kabul. Most Afghan forces being overrun, either surrendering or defecting. Some fear the Taliban could take the country's capital in just weeks, possibly by the 20th anniversary of the September the 11th terrorist attacks.
Who would have possibly thought that 20 years on, this is where we would be ending up.
In greatest fear are those who stand to lose the most, the women of Afghanistan, a generation of girls who grew up with access to education and rights, now fearful the Taliban will once again take all of that away.
They know that everything that they know and they have gained with lots of blood and sweat and tears is at the verge of shattering should the Taliban come back to power.
And Ian Pannell joins me live now for more on this. Ian, the Taliban have seized 3 more major cities in just 24 hours. How is this happening so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, Tahan, let's just go back 24 hours when you and I last spoke. I mean, the pace of events is bewildering. It's hard to get your head around quite how fast it's happening and the meaning of it all, because every single hour, it seems, things just continue to get worse, and it looks like the Afghan army clearly just crumbled, as was always the fear, that they didn't have the stomach for the fight. The small, hardcore elements who were prepared to stand and fight were just not enough against the resilience of the Taliban. The Taliban have always been ready to fight and die for their country. Taliban commanders have said, if we die, it's victory. If we win, it's victory. Well, good luck trying to fight that. It's almost impossible. And now Kandahar's fallen, Lashkargah's fallen. Seems to me there are now only really two major cities left. Mazar-e Sharif in the north, which is a Tajik different ethnic group from the one which the Taliban is traditionally derived. They're mainly Pashtuns. It's mainly composed of a different ethnic group, and they have traditionally held out, but for how much longer? And then Kabul. The Americans are now planning to evacuate almost all of their embassy staff. The British, Canadians are doing the same, and Afghans aren't stupid. They can see the news headlines just like you and I can. The writing's on the wall. Anyone who can get out should now.
Now, how much time do you think those people have to get out? How much time do U.S. troops have to try to get them out safely? And what happens if Kabul does fall to the Taliban?
Yeah, I mean, both great questions. I mean, it's almost impossible to answer how much time. Nobody could have predicted the pace of the Taliban advance. I mean, given the current trajectory of events, you would think it's a matter of days before they're at the gates of Kabul. They took Ghazni, which is a city that lies just 80 miles to the south of Kabul yesterday, but they already control a district between Ghazni and Kabul. So a place that I've visited with the 10th Mountain Division, the US military before, that's now been in the hands of the Taliban for a long time. So they could be there very quickly. My own view, my guess, is that they won't want to take on the American military in that way. They've had everything go their way because they didn't attack the US military as they withdrew from the country. So I don't think that will happen. But August 31st is the deadline for that withdrawal to be completed, and you've got to assume that after that, all bets are off. Either the government surrenders, tries to cut some kind of final deal, or the Taliban just take over the whole country. And if they do, for the people of Afghanistan, this is going back at least 20 years. For the women and the girls of Afghanistan, this is going back 2 centuries.
And Ian, it's in less than a month, we're going to be marking 20 years since 9/11. If Afghanistan falls entirely under Taliban control, how does that affect our safety here at home?
Yeah, and look, I absolutely understand why the mothers and fathers of the men and women who served say enough. It's 20 years. Our sons and daughters shouldn't be in harm's way anymore. For what? But you're right. That 20-year anniversary is coming up, and the 9/11 attacks were conceived and planned in Afghanistan. And what we're now seeing as the Taliban sweep forward is the recreation of vast ungoverned spaces. And the Taliban don't operate just on their own. They operate with Al-Qaeda. They operate ISIS also in the country. Other terrorist groups are also there. And there is a real danger that those ungoverned spaces reappear. The head of the British military, the current serving head of the British military, the equivalent of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, just this week warned that if Afghanistan fractures, there is a risk that extremism and terrorism returns. And that, of course, will pose a risk, not just to the country, but potentially to the region. There is a severe risk there that it becomes a hotbed of extremism once again. And we're nowhere near being anywhere else in the region. We're not even in any of the neighboring countries because we didn't cut any kind of deals. We are hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and our ability to affect what happens on the ground has just disappeared. Is this Joe Biden's Saigon moment? I think the comparisons are unfair and unfortunate, but will he be remembered for having made a disastrous decision? I think the risks are very, very high.
Yo, so we ready to check this earthquake out that happened in Haiti.
Hundreds are dead. The U.S. Geological Survey tells ABC News that number could rise to the tens of thousands. Today's quake more powerful than the one in 2010 that left an estimated 250,000 dead. And there is word of several aftershocks tonight of at least magnitude 5. These images are from the western part of the country where there is widespread destruction. Homes crushed, buildings collapsed. This church feeling the brunt of the earthquake. It's feared that many remain trapped. One man, you see him there using a hammer, trying to break through part of a collapsed building. Hospitals are overwhelmed with the injured, these people being treated outside. Haiti is already in turmoil just 1 month after the assassination of the president there. And the humanitarian crisis may only get worse with Tropical Storm Grace now approaching the island. Rob Marciano joins us with the track in a moment, but we begin with ABC's Elwin Lopez.
Tonight, devastation in western Haiti. That massive 7.2 earthquake leaving hundreds dead. In Lakai, a sign of hope as people pull a woman and a child from the rubble. Another man covered in dust carried out of what's left of this building. The injured treated in the open air. The country's hospitals stretched thin. The sheer destruction seen everywhere you look. This hotel reduced to piles of debris, people believed to be inside. With rescuers cutting through concrete in search of survivors. The acting Prime Minister Ariel Henry declaring a state of emergency for a 1-month period. The quake striking 78 miles west of the capital of Port-au-Prince, just around 8:30 this morning. USGS predicting high casualties and widespread disaster for the Caribbean country already in turmoil. The quake along the same fault line of the catastrophic 7.0 in 2010 that killed an estimated 250,000 people, a disaster from which Haiti is still recovering.
This earthquake is larger than that earthquake in 2010. It's about 2 times more energetic than that magnitude 7 earthquake. The impacts on both human life and infrastructure in Haiti are likely to be very devastating.
This crisis coming just a month after the assassination of the Haitian president, leaving the country in a state of siege. And tonight, a new threat looming. Tropical Storm Grace racing toward the island of Hispaniola, potentially hindering rescue efforts.
And Lindsay, it's not just that tropical storm threatening Haiti. The USGS also says that more people than they initially thought are also at risk from landslides. USAID also has a team already on the ground assessing the humanitarian needs there. Lindsay.
The tropical storm could not come at a worse time for Haiti. Elwin, thank you. And as we mentioned, we are carefully tracking Tropical Storm Grace, currently churning toward Haiti. ABC senior meteorologist Rob Marciano joins us now. Rob, when will Haiti start to feel the effects?
About a day and a half. And this thing is moving very quickly. It's not close to Haiti yet, but it will take a direct hit right now over around Guadeloupe. And we have tropical storm warnings up for a lot of those islands, including Puerto Rico, which will feel the impacts during the day tomorrow. But you see the line going right over Haiti Monday night into Tuesday morning with wind and heavy rain and potentially flooding, and then getting across Cuba and into the Gulf of Mexico, at which time we'll have to watch it obviously very carefully here in the U.S. A more immediate concern for us in the U.S. is what's left of Fred. We expect it to reorganize, re-strengthen, and head towards this part of the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf ports of Pensacola, late in the day on Monday and Tuesday as a moderate to strong tropical storm. Lindsay?
Rob, we know you'll be keeping an eye on that for us. Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos.
Yo. So salute for y'all tuning in and stuff. If y'all missed about that Code Red for Humanity, it's at the beginning of this stream, y'all, and stuff. So I'm ready to go rock out on Let's Talk About It platform. But appreciate you, Polo, Vito, John, and Yummy for tapping in and stuff. I'm gonna continue to just do little stuff like this, just research stuff, and then just stream y'all it and let y'all see it and stuff, and put y'all up on what's currently going on and stuff. As y'all can know, as y'all can see for now, I ain't with the antics and shit like that. You get what I'm saying? But yes, Talk About It platform. I'm ready to go over there and see when he appreciate that, Yummy. Ready to go over there and see what he gonna talk about tonight. He's supposed to be talking about ghosts and shit like that too. So I'm gonna go over there and rock out with him though. But I swear I appreciate y'all for tuning in and stuff though, man. I swear that shit really means a lot to me, man. For real.